Peace and welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a big culture convo for you today as Dr. Cornell West, presidential candidate, has made his official pick. And it's Black Lives Matter activist, director, and professor, Dr. Melina Abdullah, here in Los Angeles. We're going to talk a little bit about this and how this could be a black politics litmus test. I'll talk to you about that. Plus, later on, we're going to be checking in with Coach Jeanette Collier to talk to us about the question, can cheating be respectful? Yeah, I'm going to share with you the latest on that. And, of course, we know we're going to give you something from Trends Posted Doing the Most. Stay with us. This is all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being part of the show. It is Thursday, April the 11th, and I cannot thank you enough for joining us. We are streaming live on a number of different platforms. First and foremost, go to our website at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free. Follow us on social media at Black Star Network. And we would love to get your support as a donor, investor, a stakeholder with the organization, with this company, with this movement. So go to our website today, download the app. But more importantly, we ask that you give something, and we thank you for your support. And for those who have already supported, you know how we feel about you. We thank you from the bottom and from the soul of our hearts. Yes, let's also talk about where else we're streaming. Let's talk about the fact we're streaming on Amazon platforms, on your Amazon Fire TV. You can find us there on Amazon News as well as on Amazon Prime Video. You can just find us on the Prime Video app under Live TV, then News, or find us on Amazon.com under Prime Video, then Live TV, then News. We're also streaming on Freevee, the Freevee network. We can find us under On Now for News, for Black Star Network, and Plex TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can check us out there. Just search for Black Star Network or find us under Live TV, then News and Opinion. And we're also streaming on Big Brother Roland Martin's social media spaces, on his pages on Facebook and on his YouTube channel. And big shout out to the online culture crew that's on the X platform, that's on the Facebook platform, that's on the YouTube channel. Man, oh man, thank y'all so much for joining us today. And we got folks checking in all around the country. Deidre Hall, I see you. Francesca Epps, I see you. Brother Brian Grisham, I see you. Lori Parks, I see you. Cindy D, I see you. The Stephanie Humphrey channel's checking in. Tiana, I got you. Thank you for checking in as always. Who else we see in here? Karen Connor, my sister, thank you so much for joining us. And I see folks are still checking in. And folks, if this is your first time watching the show, this is one of the few digital spaces where your voice really matters, where you can join us in the conversations. Just like I'm having the discussions with our guests and our contributors, we want you to have the conversation within the chat. And guess what? I'll bring your thoughts into the discussion as well as we have these conversations. And so we're just having a big old round table as we talk about all of the issues and ideas and everything that's happening. But today, folks, I am super excited about the show because I feel like this is a major moment. And this is going to be a defining moment. Now, I might be gassing it up, but I don't think I am, as we're going to be talking about Dr. Cornell West, presidential candidate. You know, he is on a different ticket. He's not a Republican. He's not a Democrat. He's kind of running on a third-party ticket. But more importantly, how he has decided to move forward in picking his VP, and is none other than a sister that we've actually had here on this show. She serves as the Black Lives Matter Grassroots director here in Los Angeles for the BLM chapter, and is Dr. Melina Abdullah, who is a tenured professor from California State University here in Los Angeles as well. She's been on the ground. She's been doing this work for many years, and now she is a vice president candidate pick for Dr. Cornell West. What do you make of this, culture crew? What do you make of this? I would love to get your take on this. Look, I'm going to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we're going to be checking in with Pastor Wendell Griffin, who is one of Dr. West's supporters, and to give us some insight on to what this situation looks like But I'm calling this the Black Politics Litmus Test. And I'm going to tell you why on the other side. So join me in the conversation. And of course, stay with us. We still got a whole lot to get to in this first half of The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a big culture convo kicking off the show today as we talk a little bit about politics and the big political news that's coming out of LA, not Washington, is the simple fact that Dr. Cornell West, who is the third-party candidate running for president, he has officially announced that he has chosen his vice president, and it's none other than Dr. Melina Abdullah from Black Lives Matter. She's a professor. She has been an activist and advocate for many, many years. And so she is now on the ticket running with Dr. Cornell West. Let me share with you what Dr. West had to say and what she had to say. And then we're going to have Pastor Wendell Griffin, former retired circuit court judge, as well as author, to talk to us about it. He is a supporter of Dr. West, and so we wanted to get his take. But first, let me share this with you. Here's what Dr. West said on the Tavis Smiley show yesterday as he talked about this. See, he said that, quote, she has a record of deep commitment. Let's show the first quote, please. A record of deep commitment, thank you. Deep commitment and investment in ensuring that poor and working people are at the center of her vision. He said, I wanted to run with someone who would put a smile on the face of Fannie Lou Hamer and Martin Luther King Jr. from the grave. Wow. That is some high regards from the iconic professor. Now, this is what she said in response to Dr. West asking her to run on the ticket. This is what from Dr. Melina Abdullah. She said, I regard West and many others, and many of us regard him. This is quote number 2 I wanted to share. She said, I regard West and many of us regard him as one of the most brilliant people to walk this earth. And so I've been following him and have been really enthusiastic about his candidacy. This is what she said after it was announced that she was going to be his running mate. He and his wife, Anita, asked, and immediately my heart just soared. I said yes immediately, like shouted yes. Wow. This is such a big moment. This is a big moment. Here's why, folks. Here's why. Then I'm going to bring out my special guest, Pastor Wendell Griffin, into the conversation. Here's why this is a big moment. Because this is a Black politics litmus test. This is how I see it. Yeah. Whether it's going to be about principle or are we going to play politics this year? I'm going to just say this again. Here's the litmus test, y'all. Principle or politics? Woo! Now, the principle is that as Black folks in this country, many of us have been disenfranchised and disenchanted with how the political system has gone. But now we have 2 individuals who have a deep history, who have commitment. And I'm using Dr. West's words. He said deep history and commitment, who have been committed to our people, who have been committed to not just our people, to working people, to or marginalized folks and oppressed folks. But then you got to play the politics too. Are we going to play the politics game? This is a big moment for Black politics in America. Let me bring in my very special guest, Pastor Wendell Griffin, who has joined us before, and I'm happy to have the pastor joining me once again. Pastor, thank you so much, sir, for being with us. You are a Dr. West supporter, but at the same time, you have been working in civil rights, social justice for many, many years. I mean, you not only served on the bench as a retired circuit court judge, you've been doing the work as a pastor, as an advocate, and an activist. You are an author of books that talks about the importance of making sure that we use a different metric to determine the right candidate to be in office, whether it's the spiritual metric or it's a more socially conscious and socially responsible metric. But what do you make? What's your initial reaction to this VP pick from Dr. West?
Good afternoon, Brother Farajii.
Good afternoon,
Good talking to you, brother. And I thank you for having me on. I was delighted. I am delighted for Dr. Muhammad's selection. I was delighted that Dr. West chose somebody who has street cred, if I may say so, on the issues that matter to voters who are not counted on by either of the two major parties, except, if I may use the term, one party treats Black working class people as field hands. Show up when we tell you, vote what we tell you, and hush until we ask you for votes again. And the other disses us, disrespects us, and damages us. Let's be honest. Neither Dr. West nor Dr. Muhammad could have gotten a hearing before the Democratic Party. We saw what the Democratic Party did to Bernie Sanders in 2012 and 2016.
Right.
We saw how the Democratic Party took advantage of Black votes every time they wanted to ask us to vote, and working people votes. And I would be remiss to try to improve on what Dr. West said, but I would add one other name. He mentioned Fannie Lou Hamer. He mentioned Dr. Martin Luther King. I would mention the name of Sister Dorothy Day, a white sister who was head of the Catholic Workers Movement, anti-racist, anti-capitalist, anti-war, pro-working person, pro-poor people, loved the people who live with their backs against the wall. And Dorothy Day, like Fannie Lou Hamer and Dr. King, would be delighted. Now, the question is, you're talking about politics and principle.
Yeah.
People are going to say, okay, West, Muhammad are running, but they're going to say, can they win? And if they can't win, why are they running? Are they taking votes away from Biden? Let me answer both questions.
Okay.
Nobody asked Robert F. Kennedy Jr., can he win? Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a white man, hello.
Come on.
A third-party candidate, hello, who is a vaccination denier, hello, named a running mate earlier this month, a millionaire donor to his campaign. Nobody asked whether either of them could win. And the major news markets picked up their announcement on third party immediately. I want to thank Black radio, Black media, the Roland Martin Network for covering it, first of all. And I want to thank you for that, because that's part of politics. You don't get any traffic if the people on the press don't notice you. And it's been decided that the people on the press would not notice Dr. West. He gets on CNN for only a hot minute. He gets on MSNBC for a hot minute. And they don't want to talk about the things he talks about. So I'm glad that this announcement comes. The second part is the issue of, if we're talking about principle, I don't know anything more important than the fate of working people and poor people. When the inflation rate is going up, the inflation numbers just came out, and just ticked up another notch. Now that inflation doesn't matter to folks who have a hedge fund. Inflation does matter to folks who worry about having enough money to pay their light bill and buy groceries.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the cost of gas is going up and the cost of milk is going up and the cost of medicine is going up, what do you not buy when everything going up and your income is not going up proportionally?
That's a great question. That's a great question.
And Joe Biden ain't talking about that. Hello? Joe Biden ain't talking about what the massacre going on in Gaza. Joe Biden ain't talking about Cop City. Joe Biden hadn't talked about the fact that 6 former police officers were convicted of crimes in state and federal court in Mississippi. I mean, this is the kind of conversation that the major parties don't want to have, that Dr. West and Dr. Muhammad bring to the table. And that's politics, because the only way our issues get named is if our people name them.
Okay. Hey, Pastor, I want to just pause there because I got to take another pause. I got to take another break. But here's the thing, though, and I'm glad that you said that, because this is why I call this the Black Politics Litmus Test, because we have to ask ourselves what's more important. Now, I know that everybody wants to make sure that their candidate wins, right? And especially in light of what we're kind of seeing is with Donald Trump, that the stakes are high, that if black folks go to the polls and don't vote for a Joe Biden, President Biden, then there is the very real risk of getting a Donald Trump in. So on the other side, I want to kind of get your take on how do you handle that? How should Black America handle that? That we're facing a potential presidency from Donald Trump if folks don't go and vote for Joe Biden, and we may not be satisfied with Joe Biden. And some of us may be even more like, okay, I understand what Dr. West is doing, I understand what Dr. Molina's standing for, but it ain't going to happen in this particular cycle. So how do we handle that? How do we reconcile those dynamics? I want to get your take. And of course, crew, let's get your take as well. Join me in the conversation as I talk to Pastor Wendell Griffin. I would love to hear what y'all have to say as we talk about Dr. West choosing Dr. Melina Abdullah from Black Lives Matter to be his vice president his vice president candidate in choice as he moves further along in his presidential campaign. Is this a Black litmus test? Black politics litmus test between principle versus politics? Where do you stand? I would love to get you what you say. Post your comments as we're streaming on Big Brother Roland Martin's Facebook page, his YouTube channel, and on the X platform. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Game on. State of the Union 2024. Huge night for President Joe Biden.
This was a CBS receipts type of night.
He dragged the hell out of the Supreme Court. And he said, y'all gonna see the power of women.
Trump's brain is melting as we speak.
We want to organize from a place of strength.
There's no confusion whatsoever about what they've done and what they plan to do.
What Donald Trump is doing is presenting a fallacy.
He is convincing them that he's all in it for them, when in fact he's all in it for himself.
We do not feel Joe Biden, in spite of the success that have taken place during this administration economically. There are too many things where we do not feel like he's had our back.
You should also be investing in the barbershops and the beauty salons and the hookah bars and the folks who are going to the club, and there's a way to actually get them registered because we've done it before. But if you don't have folks who understand that dynamic, then you're missing a big opportunity.
So we said we just celebrated. For what? Why did you go to celebrate rather than recommit commit yourself to the fight if the very thing we went to celebrate has been gutted?
Republicans did not support a lot of the bills that were necessary to keep the country fluid. You can't only love your country when you win it, right?
Oh, no. You guys don't want another $2 trillion tax cut?
This was absolutely the knockdown, drag out that we were really waiting for.
Black voters are the base. They're the most important base of the Democratic Party. There was very few language in this speech. At the time, we see an attack on black history, an attack on DEI. The end of the BLM racial reckoning thing has come to a complete end because there was nothing in this speech for that.
Our movement has never been grounded in two-party politics in this country. All of our movements ultimately get co-opted by a state that is anti-black.
They called the old because they knew the way, and they called the young because they were strong. And I believe there is a good combination of that, but we can have ideas and we can have visions and dreams, but we have to have our young people also working beside us because they are strong, and they will run that race, and they will run it to the end.
Activists, organizers, and young people have been pushing this administration to be on the right side of history and to do something about the issues that they care about.
While the Ukraine and Palestine are critical issues, they are not the only global issues.
Not a single black person who should ever let it come out their mouth that I'm tired. Because there is somebody else who came before us who didn't stop fighting.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. We are streaming live on Big Brother Roland Martin social media spaces, so check out him on Facebook and on YouTube, as well as on the X platform, as we're having this conversation about the big news coming out of Los Angeles, where Dr. Cornell West, presidential candidate, third-party candidate for president, has officially announced yesterday that he has chosen Dr. Melina Abdullah to be his vice president pick. Now, if you know, Dr. Melina is the Black Lives Matter Grassroots director here in Los Angeles for the BLM LA chapter, and she has enthusiastically accepted the invitation to be on a ticket. And both of them have said about each other that the reason Dr. West chose her is because of her deep commitment, and the reason that she decided to be on the ticket is because of his brilliance and deep commitment. Let me just share this other thing. Let's go to quote number 3, please, Lisa. As we look at this, take a look at this, folks. This is something else that was said in the conversation. She said she hopes joining Dr. West's campaign and forming a ticket with 2 black people would encourage more voters to consider alternatives in political leadership. She said, I think that both of us want to disrupt the narrative that you have only 2 choices. The world tries to tell us that we are tethered to certain ideas that we don't have to be tethered to. We can be expansive and imaginative. Wow. Can we? Can we be expansive and imaginative? Can we reimagine a different reality or a different relationship that we have with political parties? And can we reimagine a different relationship that we have with the United States government as constituents? Joining me now is Pastor Wendell Griffin, retired circuit court judge and author. Pastor, hearing what Dr. Melina said on that, and I think this is a big part of the conversation, and I know this is an emotional part of the conversation too, because she's right. We have always been told, and you said this in your remarks in the beginning, that we have always been told how to vote, who to vote for, and those things. And now here's Dr. Melina saying, hey, look, we don't have to be that way. That we don't have to be tethered. We don't have to. We can do some different things that are in our own best interest, which is something I think a lot of our people talk about. But it is very uncomfortable for our people to break away from an old system, because the system of capitalism, the system of that we're currently in, is structured on the ideas of winners and losers. And so for Black people, it's not just about, the ideas. It's about the fact that we want to be tethered to a winner, more so than being tethered to an idea that doesn't have winning momentum. And so I want to get your take on that, because that's a huge part of this litmus test between principle versus politics. Do you go with the person that speaks to your heart and soul, or do you go with the person that you think is going to garner the votes that possibly may bring some things into, fruition for your interest? How do you speak to that, especially with a Donald Trump running?
Brother Farajii, if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you always got. We have always been told that you got to choose from box A or box B. And you can't look for outside box A or box B because you can't win. Well, let's see now. It wasn't Black folks not voting in 2016 that got Donald Trump elected. It was white folks voting for Donald Trump, even when Black folks voted. Hello?
Yep.
And I don't want us to believe that we have to basically park ourselves, hitch ourselves to a Democratic or a Republican Party that does not support our interests. We have a Supreme Court that has gutted the Voting Rights Act, and the State of the Union address said nothing. Joe Biden said nothing about the Voting Rights Act in his last. We have a Supreme Court that has gutted affirmative action. Joe Biden said nothing about that. We have DEI under attack. We have HBCUs that have been historically underfunded. Tennessee State University, right next door, has $2 billion that has not been paid. The government knows it hasn't been paid. Nobody's talking about that. If our candidates don't talk about it, and if we don't put our candidates out, the conversation won't happen. Now, I don't believe we owe it to ourselves. I don't believe Black, working, poor people, women owe it to themselves to play hush mouth just so the corporate politicians can pick who will rule and then have to put up with the disrule that they do. And so I think this is about interest. We have to remember that politics is about our interest, and our interests are not about simply picking a D or an R. Our interests are about having life, about having working wages, living wages. Our interests are about having our people protected when they walk the streets and not gunned down, beat up by police. Our interests are about having history actually taught and not having the teaching of history criminalized by fascists who claim to be putting in a new kind of history. Our history is about not tearing down the Department of Education or about not tearing down the environment. If we don't talk about those things, then what is our freedom for? Are we truly free if we do not have the freedom to say what our interests are and to demand that our interests be heard by our candidates? Last word. We have to remember that part of freedom involves decolonization.
Mm-hmm.
We have been colonized to believe. We have been taught to believe that you got to trust one or two parties. Well, guess what? We haven't found salvation in either of the parties, and our voices aren't being heard. They just want our votes. The only time the Biden administration wants to hear from us is election time. But the Biden administration doesn't want to push our agenda. I've checked Joe Biden's record. Joe Biden supported the filibuster from 1972 when he joined the Senate until he stopped being a senator. The filibuster is the reason why we haven't been able to get the Voting Rights Act strengthened. And so
Pastor, I want to put you on pause right here.
Right.
Because folks are checking in and we got to take another quick pause. But I'm hearing you. And so many folks are checking in. Let me go to William Trotter. William, you said we all know it's money that matters, the kind of money that influences the stock market. Dr. West doesn't have that backing. So we're talking about the backing from the systems and whatnot. Again, this is why I say, folks, this is a litmus test. This is about principle, right? This is about principle, because I think that we do have to challenge ourselves, as you've been saying, Pastor. We do have to challenge ourselves. We have to ask ourselves, when do we want to do something different, right? Because if we wait on, and this is something that I know you understand this, Pastor, when they kept telling Dr. King, not right now, don't speak out against Vietnam, don't talk about the civil rights issues in the South. You are a Nobel Peace Prize winner. Keep it up above. Don't get too deep. And Dr. King was always confronted with this mindset, with this mentality that maybe we should wait. Wait until the right time. But then the condition of the people never improved until you make the time, you make the right time. Y'all feel me when I'm saying that? We have to make the right time. So does that mean, how does that play out for this? Well, of course, everybody will say we got a lot at stake. Trump is there. But I'm always asking, when does the black candidate kick in? When does that happen for Black America? Because we're talking about it, right? Many of us, if we're honest, we know that the system is what it is. And it's not guaranteeing us, as you said, Pastor, it doesn't guarantee us. But at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of fear. I think there's a lot of hesitation. I think that I don't know if we're ready to make a real serious leap, as much as we talk about this. And I'm going to challenge us to think this way. But are you really serious about making a change within this political system? Because Black people have always been on the precipice of political doom, and I know you know that, Pastor, because you study history. We've always been there. Every president that didn't come from, and I'm talking about over the past few years, from Nixon, it was impending doom. Ronald Reagan, it was impending doom. George W. Bush Sr., impending doom. George Bush Jr., impending doom. We've always been on the precipice of impending doom. And guess what? In 2008, 2012, we had a Black president. We were still making gains. So is this the real impending doom if we decide to back a candidate like a Dr. West and Dr. Melina Abdullah, or are we putting ourselves in crazy's position? Pastor, I want to take another quick pause. When we come back, let's continue the conversation. Stay with us, folks. It's the culture here on the Black Star Network.
I need you to scream for your new beginning. 5, 4, 3, 2. I need you to shout for it. I need you to shout for it. It won't always be like this. Sooner or later, it's gonna work in your brother's favor, in your sister's favor. They shall not die. They shall not die. They shall not die. I want you to embrace somebody and tell them welcome to the greatest season of your life. Hug somebody
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We're talking about Dr. Cornell West choosing Dr. Melina Abdullah as his vice president pick for his presidential campaign. And joining me has been Pastor Wendell Griffin. And Pastor, we've always had impending doom, sir. We've always been at the edge at the cliff, right? And people have been saying, hey, with the Donald Trump factor in this election, say if Trump doesn't even win, he still has an opportunity to run again, or he can send out any of his followers to run, you know what I mean, using his ideology and philosophy. So what are we afraid of at this point from your vantage point, Pastor?
I think we're afraid of success. I think we're afraid, what would the world look like if we got our stuff together and we challenged the folks in our white brothers and sisters and said, wait a minute, the dream that Dr. King had in '68 of a multiracial, multi-economic, multi-class, cross-generational community is worth voting for. Think about this. This is 2024, and Netflix has a movie about Shirley Chisholm. Hello?
Mm-hmm.
And we have a black woman, Dr. Melina Abdullah, running with a black man, Dr. Cornell West, for president. And people are saying the same thing about Dr. Abdullah and Dr. West as folks said about Shirley Chisholm. Now, back up. Fannie Lou Hamer went to the Democratic National Convention in 1964 and put a demonstration on from Mississippi because Lyndon Johnson wasn't going to do anything about voting rights violations in Mississippi until Fannie Lou Hamer pulled a stunt. And Lyndon Johnson was incensed. We call Fannie Lou Hamer's name with reverence now, but we forget that she was denounced by the Democratic Party. Let's remember that Jesse Jackson was denounced by the Democratic Party when he ran for Democrat for president. And the party said, no, you can't do that. Jesse ran, and he didn't have the stock market class count with him either.
Oh, man, I remember, Pastor, you saying something, because I remember I was a child when Reverend Jesse Jackson ran, and boy, I could only imagine back in the 80s, the political environment at that time. They wanted to kill that man. Literally, they really wanted to kill that man.
Oh yeah, and Jesse called out Bill Clinton.
Yes,
Jesse called out Bill Clinton. He called out Al Gore. He called out the Democratic Party because they were so beholden to the stock market class. And Jesse was faithful to our people. We only got to remember that our history has always been a history where we could not depend on the usual suspects from either party to take care of us. Roland Martin is right. If you want us to be heard, you're going to have to support us.
So should we, in your view, Pastor, should we use this to stand on principle that even though a lot of folks are saying, well, some of us, I can't say a lot, but based on what we're seeing here in the conversation on the chat, folks are saying he doesn't have a chance to win the election, but it could be a powerful statement about how black voters may be saying to the Democrats and to the Republicans, for the few that's in there, enough is enough. We are willing to shift the game. We are willing to change the game if we don't get heard in the Democratic Party. Is this the time for us to make that statement?
I think it's the time. It's always the time. If you're on a seesaw and the sides seem to be evenly matched, it's not the heaviest person that comes. It's the lightweight person who can decide whose side's going to win or not.
Gotcha.
Or not.
Gotcha.
And we can say, excuse me, Democratic Party, obviously you didn't want to listen to us on the candidate side. So Jesse Jackson was heard as a candidate when he would not have been heard had he not run. Shirley Chisholm was heard as a candidate. Barack Obama was discouraged. You recall the Clintons were furious that Barack Obama got in candidate. And Bill Clinton was furious and disappointed after Barack Obama won Iowa. We are seeing another moment. This is really about politics and principle. You cannot talk about politics if you don't get in the game. And Dr. West and Dr. Abdullah are in the game now. Now, folks have got to factor, okay, how many votes in California, which is a big, reliable blue state, might Dr. West and Dr. Abdullah get? How many votes in Minnesota, which had a high number of uncommitted votes, will Dr. West and Dr. Abdullah get? Because they understand that Minnesota is where we have seen a number of people who are immigrants who've been mistreated. And we see that the issue of Gaza and working people and unions are big. How many folks in Michigan? How many folks in Pennsylvania? How many folks in New York?
Hey, Pastor, let me, and I mean, you saying something. You saying something. Let me just take a couple of comments from the crew. You don't like my music. You say small groups of people can make a lot of difference. We have to have faith in that.
Oh, yeah.
You don't like my music? I agree. I come from the activist space. I do not believe that you're going to get a large consensus of people. And I think a lot of times, Pastor, we got like 30 seconds, got to get to this next pause. But I think that's part of this, right? The part of this is this idea that in order to make change, you need a broad swath of people to do it. But if you look at every major movement that has affected black folks, whether it's Black Power movement, civil rights movement, any movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, any movement, it always started small. It started from one incident. It started from a small group of people. And I'm with you, don't like my music on this. That sometimes I think we just lost faith. And I'm not saying this is just about Dr. West. I'm just saying in general, we think we got to have everybody on board in order for it to be a valid concern. And that's not true. That's not true. Talk to me, Pastor. You got 30 seconds for that.
Folks did not pay attention to Muhammad Ali when he started against Sonny Liston. Didn't they want to pay attention to when he went to the Muslims? But Muhammad Ali stuck to his principles and he changed the world. The folks did not pay any attention to Jesus. Hello? He started with 12 folks. Martin Luther King started in Montgomery.
There we go. There we go. I got to stop it right there. Pastor Wendell Griffin, I knew that you would be the right man to talk to this with. We are certainly going to bring you back on, keep the conversation going. But I appreciate you, dear brother, for always throwing something out there for us to consider. Thank you so much, Pastor.
Thank you very much, brother. God bless you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Folks, we got to take a final pause on the first half. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Such a very spirited discussion that we just had with Pastor Wendell Griffin, retired circuit court judge for the state of Arkansas and author, as we talk about Dr. Cornell West choosing his vice president candidate pick in Dr. Melina Abdullah of Black Lives Matter Grassroots. She serves as the director for BLM LA chapter. And she enthusiastically accepted the invitation to be on the ticket. Now, of course, I see y'all in the chat. I just wanted to take a quick moment to do this. But I see y'all in the chat. Mixed reviews on this announcement, mixed reviews about what the pastor said and all of those good things. And that's good. I love it. I love it. But I think we need to talk about it because we still got a lot of time, a lot of ground to cover. And let me just throw this out, and I'm gonna talk about this. Maybe Corinna, I know Corinna, I know you're watching. I'm gonna just can we talk tomorrow? And we don't have time today, but tomorrow I want to talk about that trip that Donald Trump made down to Atlanta, Georgia, to that Chick-fil-A. If y'all ain't seen it, you know what I mean. We got a lot of ground to cover, man. We got a lot of ground to cover. Consciousness, and I want to go. You don't like my music? You said something. You said it all starts with your friends and family, then your neighbors. All we can really do is try to raise consciousness. And I want to at least acknowledge that. And I think that's a great statement you made. You don't like my music. I appreciate you, man, for posting that. Raise consciousness. Now, you might not agree. You might say, I don't know. Maybe we got to tweak this idea a little bit. But let's not get into a space where we can't have a conversation or at least try to raise the consciousness. Now, people might say, and this is not just about Dr. West, this is about anything that we are trying to advance. We're talking about black ideas, black progressive ideas, right? Ideas that's going to take us to the next level. And I don't know about you, but I am tired of doing the same old, expecting different results because I think that's the definition of a word called insanity. I can't do it no more, y'all. We can't do it. And we have to figure out over these next few months, this is the month of April, the election's is in November, so we're a little bit like about 7 months out or so. And we're at this point, right? But we do have to be honest with ourselves. And again, this is not about Dr. West and Dr. Melina. This is about moving forward. What type of future, or can we even reimagine a future in this country if we do the same old, or, and I saw you, what you said this, Tiana, you talking about applying pressure to the politician. Corinna, you talked about what you mentioned. You said, well, why didn't the judge talk about Tim Scott and why black folks weren't upset enough to really blast Tim Scott, Brother Roland did, around his tanking the Justice for Policing Act. And we're talking about applying pressure. You got to empower people. You got to give people some choices. I think a lot of black folks are starting to check out of this whole thing because they don't feel like they're being heard. No new ideas are being presented. They don't have choices. That's the space that we're in. So I just wanted to at least acknowledge what y'all are saying on this. That we're going to have to continue to talk about this. We're going to have to be uncomfortable talking about this because, as so many of you have already said, too much is at stake, y'all. Too much is at stake for us to do the same old, expecting something new. So we're going to have to do it. Now, many of you have also said, well, Farajii, Cindy D, I heard you. You said, Farajii, we need to bring Dr. West onto the show. Look, I'm going to do my due diligence to make that happen. We already have a relationship with Dr. Melina Abdullah. Let's try to bring them onto the show. But if you don't know what they stand for, then go and find the website for Dr. West, and you can check that out on your own. But will that change the conversation for you? And this is not about him personally. This is about the idea of someone new coming into the mix of things with different ideas. That's what this is about. This is why I'm calling this the Black Politics Litmus Test, because it requires us to start to figure out, to measure where we are. The litmus test is to figure out where do we stand on this. How much are we serious about the principles of the matter versus the politics of the matter? We might not win for the White House, but we can win in the State House, right? That's the compromise that we could give or we could make. But we just have to have a conversation about it, really talk it through. And more importantly, going back to what you don't like my music is, said, talk to our family and friends, talk to the people around us. But the culture is changing. The culture is seriously changing. Look, I just wanted to throw this out there as so many of you are checking in. Boogie Barnes, you said, tell them again, it's the white vote, it's not us. Let's discuss our numbers. We need to understand what our numbers actually are. 26 million of us vote. We got to look at the numbers. And the same type of energy that we have around this presidential election, we got to have it around the State House, those statewide elections. And I'm agreeing with my sister Corinna on that. Lori Park, you said these issues concerned that you are mentioning about you don't make your call to none of those black Republicans to have in a discussion to take those concerning issues to Trump when he was in office. Tiana, not only just vote, we need to start putting pressure on our politicians. I'm just listening to what y'all saying. Listening to what y'all saying. There is so much. There's so much that we could get from this moment, and so much of an opportunity this moment presents that we can do. If we look at this thing and not just even talk about it, but really push for it, like that's why I asked the pastor, hey, it shows that we can, okay, let's see if we can use this as an opportunity to tell the Democrats to get straight. Hey, we need y'all to step up more on this issue or that issue. I just hate, I want us to do something different. And here's why, very quickly, as we wrap up this portion of it. I want us to do something differently because I don't want to pass on the same madness and BS to my children, and nor do I want to pass it on to your children or your niece or your nephew, your grandchildren, to the future generation that's coming behind us. Somebody at some point's got to do something different in order for us to change the trajectory of our reality. Can we say that? What are we going to do something different to change the trajectory of our reality? That's something that we need to think about. Look, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's check in with Coach Trinette Collier, our relationship coach. She's going to talk to us a little bit about cheating and so much more. Stay with us. We got a lot more in the second half of The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. This is an opportunity for us to be able to speak to our issues.
Y'all better understand something real quick. We ain't going nowhere.
It is a continual battle that we see all across this country. Revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be streamed.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
He makes sure that our stories are told.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared. Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. And if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. We are streaming live on our home network of home platform of blackstarnetwork.com. Make sure you go to our website today, download the app for free. Follow us on social media at Black Star Network, and we ask for your support as we are embarking on this mission of creating content that is just right for us here in Black America. So again, go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. And speaking of donations, I want to thank, we got a new member today, my sister, Kathy Hickson. Thank you so much, Kathy, for becoming another great member of the Bring the Phone fan club at a level 3 rate. So Kathy Hickson, thank you for being inspired. I thank God for inspiring you to join us and to support us, more importantly, in this great work. And we thank you. We can't thank you enough. So thank you, Kathy, for your support. This is why I love the show, because it's so organic. Like, I mean, we could talk about these things, y'all, but seriously, we got a lot to cover. We still got a lot of time and ground to cover. But, you know, trust and believe tomorrow, because I got my sister Corinne, I got my sister Kimberly. We're gonna have to talk more about this tomorrow. But we got a lot of ground to cover. All right, let me switch gears. Let's talk from politics to relationships. I'm joined by my sister, Coach Trinette L. Collier, who is the relationship specialist, the inspirationalist, and she is a coach that deals with issues of individual life coaching as well as relationships, and she's been certified, so she does not appear. I'm talking from TikTok experience, and I'm and I'm always happy to have it. It's been a minute. We've been missing each other over these past couple of weeks. So, Coach Trinette, thank you so much for joining me. How are you this afternoon?
I'm wonderful. It's good to see you and the crew back. I'm glad to be here. How y'all been?
Absolutely. All right, Coach, let's talk a little bit about something that has become it used to be a hot button topic. I think it still is, but it's kind of taken on a nuance, right? More of a different spin now. And this is something that you brought to my attention. I did not know that this reality star said this. And then it made me wonder, are we in that time frame? So we're talking about Nene Leakes, who's been a part of the Real Housewives franchise for many, many years. She's been a face, a voice. I mean, her whole life has been put on display through that platform, that space.
Yeah.
But she said something that I think really has resonated and got a lot of people talking, especially on Black Twitter and Black internet, where she talks about cheating and how it could be more respectful. I don't even know how you can say both of those words in the same sentence. But here's what Nene said, and I want to get your take on it. She said on her Instagram, she said, take a look at this. Let's put up quote 1, please, Lise. She said, look, if I'm here in Georgia and you went to San Francisco for the weekend, any city for the weekend, what you don't know won't hurt you. However, if you're going to cheat, you need to do it with respect. I don't like people who are not respectful.
Woo! And people are listening.
Wait a minute. Hold on, Coach. Cheating is about doing something that violates the vows of trust, communication, but more importantly, trust, right? Commitment.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're saying that you don't like people that aren't respectful and they're cheating?
Respectful cheating. That's the new term, respectful
cheating. Here's what I'm gonna throw this out there. We're gonna take a quick pause. She went into more detail. Take a look at this. Let's go put up the quote to what? She said her stance of explaining that disrespectful cheating would be lying to the other woman or side chick and are not setting boundaries, like her staying 50 feet away if she sees you and your partner together in public. She said, I couldn't imagine someone approaching me. She said of the other woman trying to address her. It would be like, what? What are you doing right now? She joked. She also added that the other woman shouldn't be posting the man or clues that point back to him on social media. As the writer put it, who knew there were rules? What?
Listen.
Coach. There's rules to cheating and being disrespectful.
Yeah, there are rules now. I believe there have always been rules because if you think about people who were cheating before back in the day, I think what has happened now, the side pieces and so forth, they want it all, right? So they're going to expose everything. And so now I'm thinking from this new updated term, the updated rules, I believe that now people are like, okay, this cheating thing is out of hand. I still want to do what I want to do, but we have to regulate these rules and bring it back to some sense of order in their world, because there's no such thing as respectful cheating. First of all, it's disrespectful if you're going to cheat on your spouse, or your partner. If you're in if you're not married and you're in a committed relationship and you're cheating, that's disrespectful. Like, come on, some of this stuff, y'all, is just really, I know everybody doesn't have common sense, but we have to start calling it what it is. It's not respectful. There's nothing respectful about cheating.
I mean, there's just nothing respectful about cheating. Even if you heard them stories that, you might have a man or a woman,
right?
Who, whoever's cheating, and then they find their real love of their life.
Right.
Like their little side person was the person that they meant to be with. And even in those stories, I mean, I don't think those stories happen too often, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's this idea that, oh, I can be in this thing. But here's what I think that has ruined this whole idea of commitment. Everybody believing, and Coach, you tell me if I'm wrong, everybody believing they got options.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're not married, you do have options when you're dating. That's the
here's why I'm gonna push back on that. You ready for this, Coach?
What you got?
Because say if you walk in a room of 10 people, and you can't just say I have 10 options. Here's why. Because 10 people may not vibe with you. Out of those 10 people, you may not like all 10 people. You may not like their views. You may not like how they look. You don't have 10 options. You might have 3.
Oh, that's a low number. Not 3?
Hey. I mean,
you mean at least 5?
You probably get 3.
3?
You ever go to a party? You go to some function, some gathering, and you walk in there and you see a lot of people.
Right.
But you only connect with 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I think the options thing, is that's like messing people up like, oh, I got options. You really don't.
Yeah.
I don't think we have options because everybody is not going to be on your level. Everybody's not going to bring what you need them to bring, or they're not going to be able to accept you for who you are. We don't have those options. We got 10 people in a room. 3 options. So you might get 1 out of 3 that's actually willing to move forward with you.
Ooh, that's a low number. 1 out of 3. So what these people now are like, what they're with somebody now, right? They're committed. And so now what they just now start thinking of like, okay, I don't want to be with this person anymore. Now,
I mean, if you don't want to be with the person, if you don't want to be with your current person, right? Your partner or whatever you're married, and then you go outside, right? Yeah. And then, I mean, we all know the story. It's like Lifetime is full of these stories on TV. They look glittery and golden at the first sight.
Yeah.
And then you start to peel off a little bit and you start to be like, oh.
And that's the part that we keep skipping over. We keep skipping over the real dating, the definition of dating. And when you get to that person that you are, that you feel like from the dating to the courting, you know what I'm saying? So because that courting is like, okay, this is the person I want to spend, like I can see myself having a future with this person. Dating, you're out there, you're collecting the data or whatnot, right? But when you come down to it, when you find that person and you're like, okay, I believe this is the person that I'm falling in love, I can see a future, X, Y, and Z, and now we're gonna move forward. So I think people are skipping over that part, and they see that, oh, the beginning stages, they're in love, they hadn't even gone through the trials and tribulations, and they get married, and then soon as something goes wrong, they want to find a side piece, or, and the side piece do the woman now, because it's happening for both. And it's like, okay, now they want to step out and call it respectful cheating. Like, it doesn't make it, again, it's just disrespectful. So again, it goes back to, you were not ready to make a commitment. If you're gonna cheat, like, literally just stay out, just stay single. Like, I really just don't get it. Just stay single, because there's so many factors what people are not understanding. That cheating game, you don't know who you're cheating with, first of all.
That's true.
You got some folks out here that don't care about you having a wife or a husband or whatnot. If they want you and they want you and they're going to act crazy over it. I mean, there have been many like tragic cases over somebody cheating. And now you want to call it, put a new term on it, update the term with rules and talk about respectful cheating? Come on.
Well, here's the thing, and this is part of and we're going to take another pause, but here's why some folks are saying in the chat, well, Farajii, you should talk about something else. Here's why we are talking about this. And this is why. If we are messed up in the head about something that's so simple, like being in a committed relationship, right? Mm-hmm. How can we expect our people to start to elevate their thinking to understanding what's going on in the world? Right. If your head is messed up, if we're normalizing certain behaviors and attitudes, and I'm some people like, oh, well, how do you make that connection? It's very simple, because they use the same brain, right? So if somebody is normalizing a value that we think is, if being in a committed relationship is your value, but we start to normalize cheating, we start to normalize stepping out, violating the vows of trust and confidence and all of those things, then it permeates from our decision making on other big things.
Right, because now you're talking about families. You're breaking up families. You're talking about the family structure, because of, like you said, the morals and values of a person, and you're thinking this doesn't affect you. It does affect you in every which way. Your decision making, like you said, it does affect you. We put it off as like, oh, that's just cheating, but no, when we get down to the root of things, there are some other things that's wrong, and we keep skipping over that, because now you're making some choices, the decisions that are just immoral, and then you're like, okay, now what about the children? What about my wife or my husband or whatnot in this situation? So now you're bringing chaos, and then what? You're expecting that chaos to just move to the side? No.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's continue the conversation on the other side and a whole lot more. Stay with us, folks. Join us in the conversation streaming live on Brother Roland Martin's Facebook page, his YouTube channel, and everywhere else on our website at blackstarnetwork.com. But stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. This is an opportunity for us to be able to speak to our issues.
Y'all better understand something real quick. We ain't going nowhere.
It is a continual battle that we see all across this country. Revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be streamed.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
He makes sure that our stories are told.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by my sister, the inspirationalist, Coach Trinette Collier, as we talk about can cheating be respectful based on some conversations that are happening that was kicked off by a reality show star, Nene Leakes, and she making some points about how there are rules and regulations and boundaries that need to be established when somebody is out cheating, because she can't respect somebody that's disrespectful in cheating. I'm not making this up, y'all. I'm not making this up. But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Here's the concern that I have on a cultural point. And Coach, you tell me if I'm wrong about this. My concern is, and this is what my sister Karen Connor said. She said, right, Farajii, some people are not capable of discernment and make poor relationship decisions. This is why people need to take it slow to allow the true character to be revealed. This issue of cheating is about poor relationship, poor decision making. Right. It's about poor decision making. Now, if we're making poor decisions as a people relating to something that is near and dear to us, which is companionship and intimacy and all of those things, how can we expect to make great decisions about things that are on the outside of us, right? And this is part of why I think there's some pushback to even have a conversation, because this is more of a cultural conversation, it's not like a hard news story.
Right.
But the cultural conversation is the fact that we often look on the outside of ourselves and don't want to do the internal self-work to make ourselves better. Our external life can be better if we work on the internal self.
Right.
And I'm going back to what Karen, I appreciate you, sis, as always.
Yeah.
But that decision making, it's like, for example, if you know there's some part of your life that you need help in, whether it's your finances, whether it's your diet, whatever the case may be. And once you start to make changes on those elements of your life that you want to improve upon, these are internal shortcomings that you want to improve upon.
Right.
Then you start to see a domino effect where other things in your life start to fall into a certain order.
Right.
And if you're talking about, and I know some people might say, well, I don't see the connection. The connection is our heads are all over the place. If we're normalizing things that we know that are destructive, how can we sit down and have serious conversations about the future and the liberation of and the struggle of Black people?
Right.
When we're doing things that are counterproductive to building, counterproductive to growing. Talk to me. Am I thinking too far?
Again, we don't connect these things because we isolate relationships and whatnot, and we don't think about how it does affect, our family structure, or, even if you don't have a family, you're looking at leadership. I know you talk with, about politics and whatnot, but when you think about leaders and leadership, and this doesn't say that you're perfect, you're going to have a perfect relationship, perfect marriage or whatnot, but you are, you have humanistic, realistic, you're a character, human character. But you look at that leadership, it's like, if you're thinking like this, like, oh, I can have a side piece while I'm in office, or, or while I'm leading a company and whatnot, I'm not going to trust you, because I look at it as a trust factor. How can I trust you as a leader and you're off and you're not being respectful to your own family?
Hey, hey, check this out. Hey, coach, you know what's a prime example of that is? Donald Trump.
Because
he can talk bad about women.
Yeah.
He can cheat on his wife, but we have this cognitive dissonance when it comes down to that, and say, oh, well, he's still, and even he do all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And then you could still say, well, he's good for the country. He's good for America. But we don't put him on that ladder. Like, here's a man that would potentially could sit in the most powerful seat in the world.
Yeah.
We would ask our children, what do you say to your children to look up to that man? Because back then, leadership required character.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And now we're at a place where character is so far down on the priority list that it's all about the external. Well, how much money you got? What kind of clothes you wear? How good do you look in leadership? But then when it comes down to making those decisions that is rooted in values, morality, character, that you would have to do as a leader, especially if you're talking about becoming leader of the free world, quote unquote, then where is that you lean on? Where is the reference? Where is that within yourself? And I'm not trying to make this bigger than what it is. I'm just using this as a little stepping stone, and saying, like, look, there are some cultural things that are happening, and now we have to be conscious enough to be like, you know what, the world is going one way, but I can't keep going the same way, because.
And what conversation do you have with your family, your children, like you said, who are looking up to you? What is the honest conversation? That's what I want to know. Like, how do you, because it's not a mistake, you willingly did this, right? So what is the conversation that you're having with your children about what you did? How do you sit in front of your children and say, I respectfully cheated on your mother, or I respectfully cheated on your dad? Like, how do you have that conversation and still be in these positions as leaders? Because let's be honest, there are a lot of people who are in, they're leaders of companies, in churches or in schools and whatnot. How do you have that conversation without stepping down and taking a look at myself and say, okay, I need to get some type of support, because not only did I disrespect my family, but I disrespected me and the people that I'm leading. Like, what can you tell me? Because now I broke the trust. And so for me, it's the trust factor. I don't trust you,
And I think, and that's a great point.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point, Trinette. That is a great point, because can you trust somebody
to leave me? I don't know, because you're gonna stop off and yeah. Okay.
I mean, you and I'm not saying, look, I get it. Look, we're all human, right? We do what we do. I'm saying that in this whole process, right? Because I think this is the part of the culture that when we normalize certain activities, and some of us might feel like, well, I'm above that. Yeah. Let me trust and believe. Ask your children, ask your grandchildren, ask the young people in their lives, what do they think about cheating? And you're going to get a variety of answers. Trust and believe. We are living in our time, and this is a part of our. People are identifying themselves. They are self-identifying themselves, right? Yeah. People are self-identifying themselves however they want to be seen to the world. That's fine. But we're also living in a culture where people are redefining what relationships look like, and that's fine too. Right. So if you're talking about living in a space, if you're talking about growing, or if you're talking about, taking a people like Black folks to the next level, we got to be mindful of this stuff, man.
Yeah.
We can't act like this stuff doesn't exist. Oh, no, nobody's doing it like that. Talk to the younger folks in your family.
Yeah.
And get your take on, and ask them, well, what's your take on cheating? And some of them gonna be like, no, it's absolutely a no. And some of them will probably say, well, it depends on the circumstances.
And we're not understanding that we're continuing this cycle. So you're talking about broken people, right? Broken people who are continuing the cycle. If they saw their parents do it or the people that have raised them or whatnot, guess what's going to happen? You know, they're going to grow up thinking like this is respectful and normal. So now then we, you know, have to bring it back to, oh, he or she is broken, this, whatever. But you contributed to that your child's brokenness, you know, by normalizing something that was disrespectful and that was just not right. You know, it's just not right unless you are in the new, you know, open relationships or whatnot. But I'm talking about people who are in committed relationships who took those vows and said, listen, it's just monogamous. It's just me and you, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Look, we're gonna take another quick pause. When we come forward, we're going to have a conversation. Let's switch gears a little bit more. Let's talk about the hate, the excessive hate from the new black actress in the Romeo and Juliet film has been experiencing, and how we still have a lot of work and a lot of ground to cover. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by my sister, Coach Jeanette Collier, the relationship specialist. Let me just go to here, Coach, because this is interesting stuff. I'm seeing some interesting comments in the chat from the crew. Laura, you say destroy the family, especially, but in this man's reasoning mind world, don't want wife to leave the husband because he cheated, still want her to stay by his side because children are involved. And that's the other part of this, that we see that, and you talked about that in your earlier remarks, that the consequences, the ramifications of cheating and how it undermines family building, right? When we're talking about this, especially with our conversations about Black people and our struggle and our liberation and moving forward, if our individual actions continue to undermine the very institutions like the family, like the Black household, it undermines communities from being built. Because now you got the secret, you got people doing whatever, moving how they want to move, but it undermines us feeling a sense of community and unity. This is the part of it.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going back to my point that's why a lot of us don't want to talk about certain things, not to say all the time, but I think this is part of the reason.
Right.
Is because it requires us to change ourselves.
Right.
And in our current culture, when that responsibility is placed on our shoulders where we have to take ownership and accountability for our actions, it becomes a different conversation. It is a scary conversation because some of us, we don't want to look inward to make the change. We always want to look outward, but we don't want to say, you know what can I do to improve myself to be a better person?
Yeah, I agree. We have to. It's that accountability piece. We don't want to have those conversations, those hard conversations, because when it boils down to it, it goes back to how do you see yourself? How do you love yourself? You know, how do you respect yourself? And there's always a back issue on, infidelity and so forth. But yet you're in these roles, as a leader, and so forth. And we just don't want to have those honest conversations. And for me, as I, share with clients, listen, we have to have those talks. Yes, everybody's not going to go to therapy or counseling or whatnot, but there is something that is hidden and something that needs to be out, that needs to be, you need to be heard and understood. Like, why are you doing these things? What is the secret and so forth? And I always feel like there's a root, there's a cause behind everything we do. So if you're justifying cheating, and destroying your family, it goes so much deeper than that. On the outside, on the surface, yes, it looks like it's, oh, well, somebody's just talking about cheating or whatnot. But no, when you're getting down to the root of things, there's so much more, because now you're talking about the family structure. You're talking about the culture. You're talking about how can we progress as this unit. We have to be unified, and it's through the family structure and so forth. And when you're connected, for me, it's a trust factor. I'm
gonna be honest with you, and to be real with you, you can't build a brotherhood or a sisterhood where you have to worry about whether your brother is eyeing your woman, or your brother's worried about you eyeing his woman, or your sister is you vice versa with the sisters.
Yes. That's so true.
If our people, and this is the part that I know we all struggle with. The struggle comes in when there is a moral call to action. You know what I'm saying? When there is a call to action, we can talk politics, we can talk money, we can talk education, we can talk health. But when you get undermined, all of those things are all well and good, but those are extensions of what is on the inside. And when you're talking about having a moral call to action, right? And I'm thinking of my brother, Reverend William Barber, who was running a campaign called Moral Mondays. And it's like, what is the morality if the culture is normalizing things that we once shunned? If the culture is being open and acceptable of ways that we once find destructive, then what is the moral standard that we're standing on? Where is our moral authority? What is that based and what is that rooted in?
Exactly.
And that's part of the culture that I think is a little bit harder to have a conversation about, because we just want to do what we want to do, right? But you can't just do what you want to do and then it's just going to end up a certain way. Like our actions have consequences.
Consequences, yes, it does. Even down to health-wise, when you think about it,
right?
If you're cheating and you're sleeping with, we just got a report here in Atlanta about HIV is on the rise, right? And that's because a lot of couples, a lot of people are stepping out unprotected. So you can't tell me it's not connected. When we're, all of it's connected, because now people are thinking, oh, as long as, I'm respecting my mate and I'm not sharing, or I'm not bringing this person around me or whatnot. No, you're cheating and you're bringing it back home and whatnot.
Right, right.
All of that is connected, whether we want to believe it or not. It is connected.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, we got to take another quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about let's move from relationships to now talking about race issues in Hollywood. How one Romeo and Juliet co-star has been undergoing excessive hate online because she's a Black woman playing a major role. And what does that say about the culture and how we still have a lot of work left? Folks, we're going to have that conversation up next. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Wanted to talk with Coach Juliet, Collier, who is our inspirationalist here on The Culture, and talking a little bit about the race issues. If you haven't heard, folks, there was an announcement that there's going to be a new production of Romeo and Juliet that will be filmed. And this is going to, the title roles are going to be played by Tom Holland, who is of Spider-Man fame. He's the latest Spider-Man. But then the role of Juliet is going to be given to a young Black woman by the name of Francesca Amawuda Rivers. And as a fact, there she is. That's Francesca. Beautiful sister.
Yeah.
She's playing the role of Juliet. And people, Trinette, are not happy. And let me just say, white people aren't happy about this. As we know, the story of Romeo and Juliet are being two star-crossed lovers and how they essentially committed suicide in order for them to, quote unquote, be together. But this is a classic Shakespeare play. But the announcement of having Francesca with Tom Holland, who is a white man, was quickly met with online hate and a lot of racism, so much so that 900 Black actors had to respond. They decided to sign a letter to show their support for young sister Francesca as a result of so much hatred. And in the letter, it said, quote, "The racist and misogynistic abuse directed at such a sweet soul has been too much to bear. For a casting announcement of a play to ignite such twisted, ugly abuse is truly embarrassing for those so empty and barren in their own lives that they must meddle in hateful abuse. Too many times, Black performers, particularly Black actresses, are left to face the storm of online abuse after committing the crime of getting a job on their own." Wow. Wow. What does this say about us in the culture right now, Coach, as we're looking at this level of racism? You know, we saw this, I remember when they casted Little Mermaid, when they showed that our sister Haley Bailey would be the Little Mermaid, and all of the talk around that. Now our little sister Francesca is in a title role. It just doesn't seem like, as much as we want to believe, we haven't gone that far. Yes, they've been able to be casted.
Yeah.
But now it's still a lot of rejection, still a lot of hatred. What do you see in this situation?
You know what? It's just always a sad situation every time we have to face this. You know, you're looking at, we're 2024, about to be 2025, right? And so forth. And we're constantly being faced with this. But however, I'm also a firm believer that, listen, we keep going, right? We have to shut out those voices because we know that they're going to continue. Some of them are going to continue to hate us, no matter what. You know, we could save their lives and they're still going to hate us, right? But what I do love is the fact that we are rallying behind her, you know, and just like the Little Mermaids, we rallied behind and we unified and say, hey, you're not going to do this. You're not going to put this on her. It's a character, it's a play or whatnot. The world has evolved. And of course, you know, people behind those keyboards, there is one actor, I can't remember the name, but they were like, they disabled the comments on social media and whatnot. And you have to block this hatred because this hate that we're experiencing, it's nothing new. It's just that they're a little bit bolder now, but you know, of course, we're so resilient and we know how to fight back with the love and the support of each other. And I just feel like we just continue to, you know, rally behind her and show up and show out. You know, it makes no sense. Like honestly, it makes no sense.
Do you think that race, do you think that we'll get past race? I mean, even in arts and entertainment, in a space where it's supposed to be race neutral, right? Like we're not supposed to see the race of a person. We're supposed to see their talent and their skill. Yeah. But it's becoming more and more. This is a play. This is not like a major motion picture, but it's a play that's being done. But it still seems to be a problem. Yeah. And like you said, this is 2024. Yeah. We can't even switch up on stuff. Like the type of pushback and feedback that people gave about a cartoon being black.
Right. That lets you know there's something wrong. You
Right.
are fussing about
Right.
a cartoon character, you know.
Right.
But again,
In this case, it's not even a real character. This is the story.
right. This is a story. Yeah. So, you know, again, it's all about that power. You know, some of them feel like that, you know, they still have power over us and they can tell us what to do and whatnot. But we have to continue to stand up and fight back in the sense of like, no, you can't do this to us. It's a play.
Right.
Get over it, you know. I think some people will get, you know, they see past race, and we have to focus on those people who are ready to move forward, who are progressing, you know. I don't like to give the power. I like talking about it. Of course, we do talk about it. But however, I think we have enough power within ourselves and then within our community to say, listen, let's move forward. You know, we can't keep feeding into this negativity on a character. You know, if you are hating, my thing is just fall off the grid then, because the world is changing, and you're gonna see us, you're gonna see more of other cultures and races and so it's like, just if you don't want to be around us, be done. I've never met a group of people who hate another group of people so much, but you stay emulating us, you stay, you know, trying to
come on.
You are surrounded by us. You know, if I hated somebody so bad, guess what? I'm not going to be around you. I'm not even going to talk about you. I'm not even going to look your way. So I don't know. That's just my take on it. I just it's tiring, you know, for us as a people, as a culture. And then when you have things of this nature, it's arts, you know, it's entertainment, and you're still to this day you're upset about a character.
Hey, Corinna said they hate but can't live without us.
That's it. Bottom line. They cannot, because if you really hate somebody, you're not going to, you know, you're not going to give all this attention. You're just going to be done. It's done.
Yeah.
And like, bye, go somewhere, you know.
Right.
And it's just really sad. And I hope and pray that she has enough support where it doesn't affect her, you know, mentally and spiritually, as she, you know, start her acting career. I'm not sure how long she's been acting or whatnot, but you know, I pray that the support that we're showing her, the other Black actors and actresses are showing her, that she will continue to operate in her craft and do it with best. And you know, it just doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense, and I think that it just goes to show you still we got a long wait in this culture. You know what I mean, to cover the ground of race relations in this culture. I mean, and it's so sad because, you know, you as an actress, as an actor, you want to try to show your work. You want to show who you are through your artistry.
Yeah.
And people don't do that. And I think that's the part about this whole story, that 900, and I've never heard of 900 signatures within the industry from Black actors and actresses who have decided to stand up for this little sister for a production across the waters in London.
Yeah.
Right? Across the water. So it just goes to show you that one, we have a voice, that we're not all, you know, as many as the people who like to believe that Black actors are completely out of it, that we do have a voice. But then two, we still got to deal with this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And my hope is that it doesn't become so bad that it discourages other Black people to get into the artistry.
Yeah.
You know, it just, I hope that we can kind of break through all of that.
Yeah. I believe it will. I believe that others will see that and say, you know what? Okay, I may have experienced racism while we're doing the high school play, or, you know, doing the community college plays and so forth. But I know there are people that are rooting for me, and I know I have to do these, you know, I have to act, I have to perform and whatnot, and I'm going to do it because I know I have my community supporting me. And I love the fact, again, that we can stand and we can unite, you know, because again, it is entertainment. It is, you know, it's her craft, it's their craft or whatnot. So why not take that energy and say, we're going to support you. we're going to support the upcoming actors and actresses and whatnot and what you do, because we need y'all now. We need you. So we're going to show that support. And I applaud those people who did sign, and I'm praying that they get more signatures and so forth. But I think it is the point of we have to continue to show that support. Just show up and show out, and not even give. We have to talk about it. I get that, but at some point we just do it. Just keep doing it.
I think that's a great point. I think that's a great point. I think that in order for us to change the conversations about race in Hollywood, and just in New York and just in arts and entertainment in general, we have to be the same energy like we often advocate for in politics of showing up, being at going to the polls and all of those things. The same energy we got to use. For our artists and our entertainers. That when they speak up for us, or when they stand for us, or when they fight for our stories to be told, we should support them. Right. Now, I'm on the other side. If they on some BS, Trinette, drop them jokers.
Drop them. Drop them.
Disconnect. Cut the umbilical cord. Do what you got to do.
Right.
Because I'm being for real. Because at some point, like, that relationship is destructive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen us so many times get into these cultural conversations about artistry. Like, we talked earlier about J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar and stuff. Like when you're talking about artists that's going to take our culture, take our artistry to the next level, they should be supported. And it's not through the context of white entertainment or white lens. It's through the context of, hey, this is an artist that is doing their part, right? To tell our story, to tell our story in a respectful way. I mean, we gotta support them. But if you're talking about artists that have often crapped on us and all of this stuff, and wants to be black one day and then they don't want nothing to do with us the next, and all of this stuff, like, I think we gotta start calling them out and cutting them off. I think that's all it is.
We gotta stop being afraid. You're right. We gotta start standing up, cutting them out, say, hey, listen, this is not for the culture. We have to take a stance in that, and not be afraid. So I'm with you on that. We cannot keep tiptoeing around what is needed. And that is our problem. We keep tiptoeing around. Some of us keep tiptoeing around.
Absolutely. My sister, Coach Trinette, I appreciate you as always. What's the best way folks can get in touch with you?
All things, I am Trinette L. Collier, including the website. I am TrinetteLCollier.com.
There it is right there. She is the inspirationalist. She joins us here on The Culture on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're always happy to have her, bringing a lot of humanity and good love and some really deep insights about a lot of relationship things and other things. So, Coach, I truly appreciate you. Thank you so much for being so good for the culture.
All right.
Absolutely. All right, folks, that's going to do it with us. I thank each and every one of you for being a part of the conversation. Make sure you do your due diligence. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app. Follow us on social media at Black Star Network, and give. We ask for your support, and it makes a world of difference, and it does, because it improves everything that we're doing. And more importantly, it puts you right there with us as we are embarking on this mission to take our conversations and our content to the next level. So, for those who have given, like Kathy Hickson earlier today, thank you so much. And if you're thinking about giving, look, what you waiting for? You hear the conversation, you know what we're about. This is all about making sure that our conversation is at the top of the list. So just go to our website at blackstarnetwork.com. Also, while you're online, make sure you follow me at The Real Farajii on Instagram, at Farajii on the X platform, and at Farajii Muhammad on Facebook. I would love to connect with you. Continue to build the community of the Culture Crew. And folks, we got a lot more to talk about. Tomorrow, I'm going to be checking in with my sisters, Kimberly Morrow, Corinne, and Denise. Let's continue to have the conversations about Dr. West. Let's talk a little bit. I'm also bring you up to speed on little brother Ralph Yarl, the young brother who was shot in the head for knocking on the wrong door. We're going to bring you an update about that and so much more. So make sure y'all tune in tomorrow for the show. It should be a really, really good one to end the week. All right, that's going to do it for me. Stay tuned. Up next is Roland Martin Unfiltered at 6 Eastern Time. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture, right here, only here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Talk to you soon. Peace.